Hi everyone, welcome back once again on the YouTube channel of Career Launcher, where we are solving some very good questions which are which may come in front of you in data interpretation section. Now these are practice questions of data interpretation, and if I'll talk about data interpretation, it is an integral part of almost every examination that you guys are going to take. Now, if I talk about that, you can expect at least one set of data interpretation, and then any other examination like XAT or Narsi Munji or SNAP, you can expect 2 or 3 sets from data interpretation in each of these examinations. So, solving and practicing the questions of data interpretation becomes very important if you want to make sure that you will be able to answer every question in your examination. All right. So let's begin solving one set of data interpretation. I would say that I would call it a typical set of data interpretation just because of the amount of numbers that will be there in the given data. But if I'll talk about the intensity of the calculation, okay, right, the difficulty of the calculation, it is not that difficult. The only thing is you will have to manage a lot of numbers, tremendous amount of numbers in one go, in a single set. Okay, so that is why I'm calling this question as a typical question of data interpretation. Okay, so let's first of all have a look at the directions which are given, as well as the data that is in our hand related to the questions, 4 questions that will be asked. Okay, so on your screen you will see the data, so all of you be ready for that. So this is the entire data that is given to us. I hope you would have understood why I'm calling it a typical set of data interpretation. Look at the number of numbers which are given in both the tables together. So I'm giving you 1 minute or maybe 2 minutes, not more than that, to have a glimpse of this data, to understand what all is given to us in these directions. Okay. So take 2 minutes and understand. Once you are done with that, please post done in the chat box. Analyze both the tables, analyze the rows and columns of both the tables, and understand what are these numbers indicating to. I hope you are able to understand what we have to actually do. So let's read this data. A company has 6 factories, F1, F2, F3, and so on up till F6, as you can see in the first table. So we have 6 rows here, 8 depots. So depots are here, D1, D2, D3 up till D8, and depots are also mentioned in the second table, right? And then after that, there are 9 retailers, R1 up till R9. Now, goods produced at a factory have to be sent a depot, and then from there to a retailer. So goods from factory, they will travel to a depot, and then from depot, it will travel to the retailer. The cost of transportation is proportional to the distance the goods have traveled, and hence the company aims to minimize distance of dispatch of goods. So cost, since it is directly proportional to the distance that we will travel, So to reduce the cost, the company will try to reduce the distance that will be traveled to move the goods from a factory to a depot and from depot to a retailer, the total cost. The distance from the factories to the depots are given in table number 1, right? So if you analyze table number 1, distance of factory F1 from each of these 8 depots is given. Similarly, distance of factory 2 from each of these depots is given, and so on. So that means if I have to look at one of these examples, the distance between factory number 4 and depot number 5 is 83.2. All right. So this distance is given in kilometers. So the distance from the factories to the depots are given in table number 1, and a similar thing is given in table number 2. That is the distance between a depot and a retailer. All right. So each of these combinations are given in these two tables, right? So this is this entire data all about. Now, definitely the questions that we'll be looking at will be based on minimizing the cost of travel or maximizing the cost of travel, whatever it is. So the questions we can have an idea about, we can have an intuition about this thing, that the questions are going to be on this thing. Okay, so they may give you one factory and one retailer. If you have to send the goods from a factory to a particular retailer, then what will be the cost of traveling for that particular combination of factory and retailer? Okay, so these are the things that can be asked in the questions that you are going to see. Fine. Now I'll display the set of questions. I'll display all the 4 questions, and you can pick up the first question from that. Then I'll come back to the table. Okay. So I'm displaying all the 4 questions. What you can do is right now you can take a snapshot of these 2 tables, because the tables initially will not be given with the 4 questions. Okay. Tables of 4 questions ke saath given nahi hongi. So I'm going to display all the 4 questions. So these are all the 4 questions on your screen. Okay, I'm taking you back, and I want all of you to take a snapshot of these 2 tables. It is not feasible to draw these tables. So that is why I'm asking you to take a snapshot, take a picture of these tables, and then I'll take you to the questions. Fine. I'll display all the 4 questions in one go. We'll give you 4 to 5 minutes to solve these 4 questions, and then we'll start with the analysis of each and every question. All right. So another few seconds I'm waiting on the screen so that you can take the snapshot of these tables. All right. Now I'm taking you to the questions. So all the 4 questions on your screen will give you 4 minutes to finish these 4 questions. Now this set is all about observations. Okay, so how good you are, how good observation skills you have. You'll have to analyze. You'll have to observe each and every number that is there on, like given in the table, and find out these answers. So observations is the key to solve this question. 1 minute over, 3 minutes left. And there are some questions out of these 4, at least 2, which can be solved in 30 seconds, a matter of 30 seconds. So people, you are up with 2 minutes. Little less than 2 minutes are left. Anyone who is done, please post done in the chat box. We will soon start with the analysis of this set. Don't worry. All right, last 1 minute. Last 30 seconds. Okay. Now let's look at the discussion. You all must have got the answers. So I'll take you to each and every question one by one, and I would like you to post your answer. Okay. So all of you can post answer to question number one. The minimum distance that goods produced at F4 would have to travel to reach R7. So we'll have to start from factory 4 and we'll have to reach at the retailer number 7. Now let's look at the approach meanwhile you are posting your answers. So this is the data that is given to us, and what we have to do is we have to start from F4 and we have to reach to R7. Okay. So our starting point is clear. We have to start from F4. Our ending point, our terminal point is clear. We have to reach to R7. But what can be the intermediate depot that we can use? It can be anyone among D1, D2, D3 up till D8. Okay. So the routes can be, I can start from F4, I'll go to D1, and from D1, I'll go to R7. So this can be the route. And since the initial point and the final point are fixed, F4 and R7, I can keep changing the depots, and that will give me the different distances that can be traveled. Okay. Now the only thing we'll have to do here is we'll have to minimize the distance. So if I use depot 1, so F4 to depot 1, the distance is 58.6. And then once reaching D1, starting from D1 up till R7, the distance is 334.2. Now if I'll add up these distances, they will be somewhere around 392 point something. Okay, right? So what you have to do is you just have to keep changing the depots, and that will give you the different distances, the total distances that can be traveled. And out of these distances, you will have to find out which of these distances is minimum. Okay. Now, since it's totally up to you, whichever whatever amount of time you want to take for this. Okay. I would suggest that there is no need to write each and everything. Okay. So I'm going to erase, right, and just do the observation. I have to start from F4, and these are the distances that will be taken into consideration according to the different depots that I'll be using. Similarly, finally, I'll have to reach R7. Okay, so again, depending upon the depot, I'll be considering these distances which are given along this column. Okay, so corresponding to D1, I have a distance of 58.6 and 334. Look at the approximate value, it is 390 something. Okay, now the second distance, 25 and 269 is certainly less than the previous distance. So 269.9, 270 plus 25 is 295, approximately 295. Okay, so now 295 should be the next only number that should be there in your mind. Just keep noting down the minimum value that has been calculated up till now. Okay, right? Now the next distance, if I use D3, will be 173 and 381, which will certainly be more than that, okay, which is higher. So I will not consider these distances. Next is 249 and 24. Now 249 and 24 is certainly less than the previous value. So my next value that I'll keep will be 250. I'll approximate this number, 249 and 24, 250 and 24, approximately 275, 274, 275 is the next number. Okay, then 83 and 475, not at all. I'll not consider this number. 221 and 267, not at all. This will be more than 400. 131 and 41, 241, it is more than 300. 72 and 243, it is more than 300. All right. So the distances that I have selected are 249.7 corresponding to depot 4 plus 24.2. Adding these two, 9, 3, 7, 2. 273.9. That is option 2 should be the correct answer of this. All right. Am I clear? So once again, have a look at it. So I have to start from F4 and I have to reach to R7. So I have selected D4 as the intermediate depot. So F4 to D4, I take my goods first of all, traveling a distance of 249.7. Then use the second table. Starting from D4, I'll go to R7 and will travel a distance of 24.2. Sum of these two distances will be equal to 273.9 and hence the correct answer will be option 2. All right. So 273.9 is the correct answer of question number 1. Right. Let's look at question number 2. What is the minimum distance that could have been traversed by goods passing through D6? Now, we'll have to pass the goods from D6. Does not matter from which factory they are starting and to which retailer they are going to. Okay, I have to use D6. So this question is similar to the previous one. Okay, this question is similar to the previous one. Thoda sa similar hai. Now, if you look at the first table, irrespective of the factory, I have to use D6. So now I'll be looking at this vertical. So I'll be looking at the vertical column in the first table. Okay. And since again, I have to stick to D6, irrespective of which retailer the goods will be going to. So I should be looking at this horizontal row for D6. Okay. So vertical for D6 from table number 1 and horizontal D6 from table number 2, right? I can start from any factory, I can go to any retailer, but I have to travel through D6. And we'll have to find out what is the minimum distance that is traveled. So again, start from factory 1, 14.3, okay? And go to R1. So 14.3 plus 347, 14.3 plus 41, 14.3 plus 490, and so on. So since the factory is not fixed, the retailer is not fixed. So what we will do, we will select the minimum distance. We will select the minimum distance against D6 from table number 1. I am not bothered about the factory. So the minimum distance in table number 1 against D6 is 14.3. All right. And minimum distance in table 2 against D6 is 40, no, not 41, but 23.2. So 14.3 to 23.2, that means I will start from factory 1, will go to D6, traveling a distance of 14.3, and then from D6, I will go to retailer number 9, traveling a distance of 23.2. So the total distance will be 37.6. All right. So now in this case, we are not bothered about the starting and the ending point. So we are just concerned about traveling our goods through D6. So from table number 1, I'll pick F1 corresponding to the distance of 14.3 in D6. Then in table number 2, D6 के corresponding जो भी minimum distance होगा, I'll select that, which is 23.2. Adding these two will give me the minimum distance that will be traveled if I want to pass the goods through D6. So 37.5, that is first option, is the correct answer of question number 2. All right, simple tha. So these two questions were easier as compared to the third question. The largest distance from any one factory to any one retailer. You can start from any factory, you can pass through any depot, you can deliver the goods at any of the retailers. Does not matter, we'll have to maximize the distance. Now this is slightly tough, okay? It's not tough, but there are huge amount of numbers that we'll have to look at, okay? So what approach should I be taking? So it may be possible that the largest distance from the first table will not correspond to the largest maximum distance. Okay, for example, if I take the one of the largest value, so 217, and I'm finding the largest number, 249. Let's mark some of the largest number. 249 से बड़ा कोई और number नहीं है. No. So I can say that 249 is the largest number. Okay. Now 249 will be the distance if I travel from F4 to D4. Okay. Now I have already reached D4. So now I have to use D4 as the intermediate, and I can deliver the goods to any of these retailers. To maximize the distance, I'll be using the maximum distance against D4, which is 348, 419, 471. So I can see that 471 is largest distance corresponding to D4. Okay. So if I start from F4, go through D4 and deliver the goods at R9, then the distance that I'll be traveling, I'm not sure if it is maximized, but it is among the maximum distances. Okay. Now, how I initiated was I calculated, not calculated, but I looked for the largest value in table number 1. And then accordingly, I selected, since the largest value in table number 1 was corresponding to F4 to D4. So since I already reached D4, so now I have to use the values which are corresponding to D4 from the second table. Corresponding to D4, the maximum value was 471. But that doesn't mean we don't have a value more than 471 in the second table. We do have. I can clearly see that 497 is one of the values. I'm still searching for any other higher value. And corresponding to 497, it may be possible that I may get a higher value, a higher sum. Okay. तो अब यहाँ पे बहुत सारा hit and trial, बहुत सारा trial and error करना पड़ेगा. Okay. So if I select 497, which is corresponding to D1. So D1 के corresponding largest number is 217. So 497 and 217. Okay, these two may add up and give me a higher value. May, I'm talking about may. Okay, now to get to these two values, what approach I used? I selected the largest number from table number 1 and selected one of the numbers corresponding to the same depot from table number 2. So I selected the largest number from table number 1. Then the second scenario, I selected the largest number from table number 2. Now it may be possible a number which is not the largest in table number 1 and a number which is not the largest in table number 2 may also give me the highest sum. ऐसा भी हो सकता है, ठीक है, right? It is not always possible that one of these numbers is largest and it will give me the largest sum. It may be possible that second largest number from table number 1 may correspond to second largest number in table number 2 and they both will add up to give me the largest number. Okay, so अब यहाँ पे बहुत सारा hit and trial, बहुत सारा observation का requirement होगा. Okay, so you can go with the observation that ways. So what you can do is you can fix upon a depot, right? Intermediate depot. So let's say I made sure I decide that my goods will be traveling through D1. So if the goods will be traveling through D1, largest number corresponding to D1 is 217 in table number 1 and largest number corresponding to D1 in table number 2 is 497. Okay, so 217 and 497, they will add up to 500, 700, okay, 714 approximately. Okay, I'm not looking at the decimal part. So this is my reference. Okay, now let's go and select depot number 2. So if I'll send my goods through depot number 2, irrespective of the factory or the retailer. So for depot number 2, the maximum number is 200. And for depot number 2 in the second table, the maximum number is 476. Okay. Now the sum of these two, 200 and 476 is 676, which is not bigger than 714. So I'll not look at these two numbers. I'll not go via D2. Okay, let's go via D3. Now D3 में सबसे बड़ा number कौन सा है? 173. Okay, in table number 1 and in table number 2 it is 381. Now 173, 381 will not add up to a number which is greater than 714, the selected number. So I'll reject D3 as well. Now go via D4, 249 and 471 already pata tha hame. Now they will add up and give me a number which is more than the previous value. So let's pick up these numbers. 249 की जगह मैं 250 use कर रहा हूँ and 470, right? So 720 is the sum new highest value that I'm getting. Okay, so previous sum is cancelled. I'll not be using 714, I'll be using 720 something. Okay, right? Now let's go via D5. D5 में सबसे बड़ा number है 211 and 475. Now they will add up and give me a number less than 700. Rejected. Okay, fine. Now after that D6 इतना करना पड़ेगा if you want a correct answer. Okay, so D6 221 and 490. Yes, we are getting some closer numbers. Okay, 221 and 490. The sum will be 711 point something, which is less than 720. Right? Are you able to understand? We are getting some closer numbers. Okay. Now D7 largest value is 131 and D7 largest value is 489, will not add up to a number which is more than 720. Last D8, largest number is 128, and here the largest number, no, I will not get any sum which is even closer than that. Okay, so that means our winner is these two numbers. So let's select the winners out of this. So the first number is 249.7 and the second number is 471.3. Okay, now we'll go for the exact addition of these two numbers and they will add up to 721, which is option number 4. And hence we can mark option number 4 as our final answer. All right, so that was number 3. Let's look at the last question, question number 4. Question number 4 is, in how many ways can a unit be dispatched from a factory to a retailer? Now, this is a question of, I would say, permutation and combination, fundamental principle of counting. Okay, so simple. We have, let's say, 2 factories and 3 depots, or so. So, in how many ways, using 2 factories and 3 depots, I can travel F1 to D1, F1 to D2, F1 to D3. F1 को fix किया, D1, D2, D3. Then F2 को fix किया, D1, D2, D3. Right? And I can see that there are 6 possibilities corresponding to this. So in this case, we have 6 factories in total. How many depots do we have? We have a total of 8 depots. So factory to depot number of combinations will be 6 multiply 8. And then for each of these 6 into 8, 48 possibilities, we have 9 retailers. So total number of ways in which we can dispatch our goods from any factory to any retailer will be the product of these numbers. That is 6 into 8 into 9. That is 432, which is the third option. Okay, so this one was the simplest. Basic fundamental principle of counting is used in this case. And we have got the answer. We just need to multiply these numbers. Number of factories multiplied by number of depots multiplied by number of retailers, and that is 432. All right, so friends, that is all about this question from my side. I hope you would have enjoyed this session. I hope you are learning from each of these sessions, learning at least something new. And like those who are not learning, I believe they are doing enough amount of practice, adequate amount of practice by solving these questions on the YouTube channel of Career Launcher. So that's it from my side. Thank you for being a part of this session. Have a wonderful time. Bye-bye.